The massive alien vessel descended through Earth's atmosphere with all the subtlety of a rhinoceros in a china shop. News networks worldwide interrupted their regular programming of celebrity scandals and political mud-slinging to broadcast live footage of humanity's first contact with extraterrestrial life. The ship, resembling a metallic jellyfish with too many tentacles to count, hovered above the United Nations headquarters in New York City, causing traffic jams that would make rush hour look like a casual Sunday drive. Inside the ship, Commander Zulrak of the Galactic Union Diplomatic Corps stared at his scanner readings with 3 of his 4 eyes twitching in confusion. "Run the bioscan again, Lieutenant Curex," he ordered, his translator module converting his natural clicks and whistles into standard galactic common. "These readings must be faulty." Lieutenant Cree, a salamander-like being with translucent skin that revealed her nervous system lighting up like a Christmas tree, tapped her webbed fingers across the console. "I've run it 6 times, Commander. The results are consistent. The dominant species of this planet cannot be classified according to standard galactic parameters." "That's absurd," Zulrak replied, his skin shifting from blue to an agitated purple. "Every sentient species falls into one of our 12 classifications. Are they predators or civilians? Apex hunters or cooperative gatherers? Carnivores or herbivores? The computer must have a glitch." "The scans indicate they are. Somehow both," Kuriek said, her bioluminescent organs flickering with uncertainty. "They possess predatory instincts and physical attributes, yet they also display all the hallmarks of civilian cooperative species. It's unprecedented." Commander Zulrak's exoskeleton creaked as he straightened to his full height. "Well, we didn't travel 16 light years to sit in orbit and debate scanner readings. Prepare the diplomatic party. We'll make direct contact and sort this classification nonsense out in person." 3 hours later, after the obligatory military posturing and politicians scrambling to look important, the first official meeting between human representatives and the Galactic Union delegation took place in the UN General Assembly Hall. Secretary General Miguel Rodriguez extended his hand in greeting. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we welcome you to our planet." Commander Zulrak stared at the outstretched appendage with unconcealed horror. It's displaying its primary killing appendage, security protocols. The alien security detail immediately formed a protective circle around their commander, brandishing what looked like glowing tuning forks. Whoa. Rodriguez backpedaled, hands raised in universal surrender. "It's just a handshake." "A greeting." Lieutenant Kriex whispered urgently to her commander, "Sir, according to our limited cultural data, this appears to be a peaceful greeting ritual, not an attack posture." Zulrak's color slowly returned to blue. "You use your predator-grasping appendages for peaceful greetings?" "Well, yes," Rodriguez replied, bewildered. "What else would we use?" The alien delegation exchanged confused glances. One of them, a floating gas cloud contained in what appeared to be a transparent beach ball, emitted a series of musical notes that the translator rendered as, "Look, this confirms the anomalous readings." They utilize hunting tools for social bonding. Most perplexing. The meeting proceeded with increasing awkwardness. When refreshments were served, the sight of human attendees consuming both plant and animal products sent the alien delegation into further confusion. "You ingest both flora and fauna?" asked a horrified Kriex. "In the same meal?" Yes. It's called a balanced diet," responded Dr. Elena Kapoor, Earth's leading xenobiologist. "Don't your species eat a variety of foods? Civilian species consume plant matter. Predator species consume other animals," explained Zulrak as if speaking to a particularly dim child. "No species does both. It would be like being both wet and dry simultaneously." The final straw came when Rodriguez mentioned Earth's various sports and entertainment. "So you engage in ritualized combat for fun?" Zulrak's translator seemed to struggle with the concept. "And the same individuals who care for young and build communities also willingly participate in these aggressive activities?" "Well, yes," Rodriguez nodded. "People contain multitudes. We can be competitive and cooperative, aggressive and nurturing. Depends on the situation." The alien delegation huddled together, chittering and buzzing in their native languages. "This is most irregular," Commander Zulrak finally announced. "In the thousands of civilizations within the Galactic Union, we have never encountered a species that defies classification so thoroughly. We must report this anomaly to the Union Council and conduct a proper assessment." As the meeting concluded, Lieutenant Kriex approached Dr. Kapoor privately. "Just to be clear," she whispered, her skin pulsing with nervous light patterns, "you don't eat each other, do you?" Dr. Kapoor laughed. "Of course not." Kriex's relief was palpable. "Well, not anymore, anyway," Kapoor added with a wink. "Historically speaking, though." Kriex's translator gave the alien equivalent of a horrified squeak before she hurriedly retreated to the safety of her delegation. 6 months after first contact, Earth was buzzing with excitement over the arrival of the Galactic Assessment Committee. News outlets had taken to calling them the Space DMV, equally bureaucratic but with even stranger forms to fill out. The committee consisted of 12 specialists, each representing a different classification category in the galactic system. They set up their headquarters in Geneva, constructing a bizarre multi-environment facility that looked like someone had smashed together a greenhouse, an aquarium, and a volcano, and then sprinkled it with disco balls for good measure. Dr. Mirok, the committee's senior evaluator, and a being that resembled a cross between a praying mantis and a filing cabinet, led the assessment with rigid adherence to protocol. "Today we observe human food acquisition rituals," Mirok announced to his team as they prepared to visit a local supermarket. "Remember, objective observations only." The aliens, disguised in what they believed were inconspicuous human-appropriate coverings, but actually looked like mismatched Halloween costumes, caused quite a stir as they followed a normal family through their weekly shopping routine. "The human female selects pre-killed animal protein without displaying hunting behaviors," noted Graxel, the predator classification specialist, a sleek reptilian being whose notepad hovered before him. "This contradicts predator classification criteria item 47B. Yet observe how the smaller human examines the plant matter with discernment, selecting based on ripeness and quality," countered Floopsy, the civilian classification specialist, a fluffy pink creature whose 6 eyes independently swiveled in different directions. Classic civilian foraging behavior. Their confusion only deepened when the family stopped at the pet store next door to buy food for their cat and dog, cooing affectionately at their pets. "They keep smaller predators as companion entities," gasped Graxel, "and provide sustenance for them." "Perhaps the smaller predators hold a religious significance," suggested Zen Pio, the cultural integration specialist, whose body resembled a collection of geometric shapes that constantly rearranged themselves. The assessment grew more complicated when the committee observed humans at a local park. Children played competitive games while parents cooperatively organized a community picnic. A jogger ran past with predatory efficiency, while nearby, an elderly couple gently fed breadcrumbs to ducks. "I categorically refuse to sign off on this assessment," declared Graxel after 3 weeks of observations. "These humans display behaviors from at least 8 different classification categories. It's taxonomic chaos." The committee's frustrations peaked during their observation of a dinner party hosted by Geneva's mayor. The elegant gathering featured humans engaged in sophisticated social bonding, displaying high civilian cooperative traits. But then the conversation turned to sports, and the same refined individuals suddenly transformed into passionate tribal competitors, arguing about teams and athletes with predatory enthusiasm. "Did you see that?" whispered Floopsy, her fur standing on end. "They switched classification categories mid-conversation. It's like watching someone transform from a grazing herbivore into a meat-rending carnivore between bites." Dr. Mirok's exoskeleton clicked anxiously as he reviewed the mounting evidence. The humans possess forward-facing eyes, canine teeth, and pursuit predator endurance, all classic predator markers. Yet they simultaneously display advanced social cooperation, collective resource sharing, and empathetic caregiving emblematic of civilian species. "Perhaps they are 2 symbiotic species sharing the same physical form?" suggested Zen Po, desperate for any explanation. The committee's report to the Galactic Union Council was a masterpiece of bureaucratic uncertainty. The human species of Earth demonstrates a perplexing duality of nature that renders standard classification methodologies ineffective. We recommend further investigation with specialized diplomatic personnel to determine appropriate categorization. In plain language, we have no idea what these creatures are. Please send help. Jack Fletcher never expected to become humanity's first ambassador to the stars. A former Marine turned diplomatic security specialist with a knack for languages and a complete inability to tolerate nonsense. Jack was selected primarily because he was the only candidate who treated the aliens like people rather than either gods or lab specimens. Look, he had told the selection committee, they're just bureaucrats with extra limbs. I've been dealing with bureaucrats my whole career. The number of arms they have doesn't change the fact that they need everything in triplicate. Now, as the human shuttle docked with the massive Galactic Union headquarters, a structure that resembled a floating cosmic lotus flower the size of Manhattan, Jack straightened his regulation blue ambassadorial uniform and prepared for humanity's grand entrance onto the galactic stage. Remember, Ambassador Fletcher, cautioned Dr. Kapoor through his earpiece, the Galactic Union contains over 3,000 different species. Many find human unpredictability disturbing. Try to be less human. Less human, Jack muttered. Got it. I'll try to photosynthesize instead. The airlock cycled open to reveal a welcoming committee of various aliens, each more bizarre than the last. At the forefront stood Commander Zulrak, now sporting ceremonial decorations that made him look like a Christmas tree designed by a squid. Ambassador Fletcher, Zulrak's translator, intoned formally. Welcome to Galactic Union headquarters. We trust your journey was comfortable? Oh sure, Jack replied cheerfully. Nothing like being stuffed into a tin can and shot across the void of space to really make you appreciate your own mortality. The aliens stared at him in confusion. That was humor, Jack explained. Sorry, I forgot that doesn't translate well. Ah, humor. Yes, Zulrak's skin flickered uncertainly. The purposeful linguistic deception for social bonding. How predatory. Jack was given quarters in the diplomatic wing, a room that appeared to have been hastily reconfigured from different alien environments. The bed looked like a cross between a hammock and a pile of sentient moss, while the bathroom facilities seemed designed for species with very different anatomical requirements. His first diplomatic faux pas occurred barely 3 hours after arrival. During a tour of the headquarters, Jack's stomach growled loudly. When offered refreshments, he happily accepted what looked like a plate of colorful fruits and cheeses. Ambassador Fletcher, gasped his guide, a hovering crystalline entity named Prisma. Those are decorative diplomatic symbols, not nutritional products. Jack froze mid-bite. You mean I'm eating the equivalent of a flag? The Zorbulian peace token, specifically Prisma, vibrated with distress. It took their artisans 6 cycles to grow it. Word of the diplomatic consumption incident spread quickly through the station. By dinner time, Jack had received 14 formal apologies from the Zorbulian delegation. Apparently, having their peace token eaten by a potential predator species was considered a great honor in their culture, and had been disinvited from 3 different diplomatic receptions. Apparently, having their cultural artifacts eaten was considered a declaration of war in several others. The situation didn't improve when Jack attended his first interspecies cultural exchange. Asked to demonstrate a typical human recreational activity, Jack taught a group of alien diplomats how to play poker. 3 hours later, the Galactic Security Force had to break up a riot when a Vogon diplomat accused a Trilaxian ambassador of hiding cards in one of his 7 facial orifices. It was just a friendly game. Jack protested as Commander Zulrak led him away from the chaos. Ambassador Fletcher, Zulrak's skin had turned a deep purple. You introduce competitive resource acquisition and deception-based strategy to a room full of diplomats from primarily cooperative species. The Trilaxians don't even have a concept for bluffing in their language. Jack's most spectacular cultural misunderstanding came during a formal diplomatic dinner. Seated next to the ambassador from Rigel IV, a gaseous entity contained in an ornate floating sphere, Jack attempted small talk. So do you have family back on Rigel? The sphere emitted a series of musical tones that his translator rendered as shock and offense. "I apologize if I've said something inappropriate," Jack quickly added. "You have inquired about my reproductive cellular division cycle." The Rigelian's translator squeaked. "Such matters are discussed only with authorized medical practitioners." The dinner descended into further chaos when Jack instinctively caught a falling serving utensil, moving with the quick reflexes developed during his military training. Half the room's occupants dove under the table, apparently interpreting his sudden movement as a predatory strike. By the end of his first week, Jack had inadvertently violated 17 cultural taboos, accidentally proposed marriage to the Andromeda representative by offering them the salt, and become something of a celebrity among the more adventurous species who found humans fascinating precisely because of their unpredictability. At this rate, Lieutenant Curex confided to Commander Zulrak, "We'll need to create an entirely new diplomatic protocol just for humans." Indeed, Zulrak agreed, watching as Jack chatted amicably with a silicon-based life form that communicated through polarized light patterns. The human adapts quickly and seems genuinely interested in other species, yet remains fundamentally human. The classification hearing cannot come soon enough. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Union resembled a cosmic amphitheater, with thousands of alien representatives arranged in concentric rings around a central platform. Jack stood on this platform, feeling like a specimen under a microscope as countless alien eyes, sensory tentacles, and various exotic perceptual organs focused upon him. Administrator Vox, a being composed entirely of swirling purple energy contained within an anti-gravity field, presided over the hearing. When they spoke, the translator rendered their voices simultaneously both ancient and childlike. "This classification hearing is now in session," Vox announced. "The matter before us, appropriate taxonomic and diplomatic categorization of the species known as human from the planet designated Earth." The first expert witness was Dr. Mirok, still looking distinctly frazzled from his time on Earth. "Distinguished representatives," Mirok began, his exoskeleton clicking nervously, "humans defy our established classification parameters. They possess predatory physical traits including forward-facing eyes, pursuit capabilities, and omnivorous dentition." A holographic display showed close-up images of human teeth and eyes that made Jack feel uncomfortably like a shark in a nature documentary. "Yet," continued Mirok, "they simultaneously display advanced cooperative behaviors typical of civilian species, complex social structures, altruistic tendencies, and abstract symbolic communication. Most disturbingly, they can switch between these modalities with no physiological transformation." The assembly buzzed with concerned murmurs. Professor Graxel took the stand next, visibly agitated. "Humans are apex predators who have hunted numerous species on their world to extinction. They wage organized warfare against their own kind. Their entertainment often glorifies violence." The holographic display showed scenes from action movies, sporting events, and historical battles. "Objection," Jack called out, forgetting this wasn't a courtroom. "That's not a complete picture." Administrator Vox turned their swirling form toward Jack. "The human representative may present counter-evidence." Jack hadn't prepared for this, but improvisation was one of humanity's specialties. Show them human hospitals. Show them disaster relief efforts. Show them people adopting abandoned animals or volunteering to help strangers. The holographic display shifted to show the scenes Jack described. The assembly's murmuring took on a different tone. "This proves my point," Jack continued, warming to his subject. "We contain multitudes. We can be gentle and fierce, competitive and cooperative. Our adaptability is our greatest strength." "That's precisely what concerns us," interjected a new voice. A small, rodent-like alien with enormous eyes stepped forward. "I am Dr. Zimber, evolutionary psychology specialist. The ability to rapidly switch between predator and civilian behavior modes represents an unprecedented evolutionary paradigm. It makes your species unpredictable." The word unpredictable rippled through the assembly like a curse. Jack decided to demonstrate human adaptability directly. He pulled out a small Swiss Army knife he had somehow managed to keep despite multiple security screenings. This tool, he explained, is characteristic of humanity. We can use it to hunt. He mimicked a stabbing motion, causing several civilian classified species to recoil in horror. But we can also use it to repair. He demonstrated using the screwdriver attachment to create art. He pantomimed carving, or even to perform medicine. He mimed a surgical procedure. The same tool, and by extension the same hands, the same minds, can destroy or create, harm or heal. The choice is what matters, not the capability. The assembly erupted into chaos. Jack could hear multiple translation devices struggling to keep up with the various alien languages being shouted across the chamber. Order. Order. High Administrator Vox's energy form flared brightly. We will have order in this assembly. As the commotion settled, a delegation of small blue aliens with 6 arms each approached the central platform. The archivists wish to speak, announced Vox. The lead archivist, barely reaching Jack's knee in height, addressed the assembly. In our 12-million-year historical records, we have documented 17 species that displayed dual classification traits. All 17 eventually specialized toward either predator or civilian evolutionary paths. The human capacity to maintain both traits simultaneously suggests they have not completed their evolutionary journey. Or perhaps, suggested Jack, we've evolved beyond your binary classification system altogether. This statement might have caused another uproar, but at that moment, alarm signals began blaring throughout the assembly hall. Red emergency lights pulsed as a computerized voice announced in multiple languages. Security breach in Sector 7. Containment failure. Predator class entity loose in diplomatic quarters. All civilian classified species evacuate immediately. Predator response team en route. The Grand Assembly Hall erupted into pandemonium. Civilian classified species scrambled toward designated safety zones while Predator classified representatives moved with practiced precision toward strategic positions. Jack, still unclassified, found himself caught in the middle of the chaos. What exactly is loose? He asked Commander Zulrak, who had appeared at his side. A Nixarian shadow hunter, Zulrak replied, his skin cycling through warning patterns of red and black. Apex predator from the Outer Rim territories. It was being transported to a secure habitat when something triggered a containment failure. How dangerous is it? It has evolved to hunt species that can phase through solid matter, Zulrak said grimly. Draw your own conclusions. The emergency system blared another update. Predator class response team delayed by transportation hub malfunction. Estimated arrival time, 22 minutes. Nixarian shadow hunter currently tracking life signs in the diplomatic residence wing. Jack's blood ran cold. The diplomatic wing? Aren't the Alphan representatives staying there? The ones that look like glowing jellyfish? The Alphans are a strictly civilian classified species, confirmed Lieutenant Kriex, who had joined them. They have no defensive capabilities whatsoever. Their entire evolution focused on diplomatic and artistic development. They're sitting ducks, Jack muttered. I'm not familiar with this duck predator, Kriex replied, but if it's comparable to an Nixarian shadow hunter, then yes. Jack didn't wait for further explanation. He sprinted toward the nearest transport tube, ignoring Zulrak's calls to stop. The tube's AI attempted to prevent his journey to the danger zone, but Jack's unclassified status confused its safety protocols long enough for him to override the system. The diplomatic residence wing was eerily quiet when Jack arrived. Emergency lighting cast long shadows across the ornate corridor. In the distance he could hear the faint, melodic chiming that indicated distressed Alphans. Jack assessed his resources, the Swiss Army knife, a decorative metal pole he'd grabbed from a ceremonial display, and his wits. Not exactly ideal for facing an apex predator, but humans had been making do with suboptimal tools since they figured out rocks could break things. He found the Alphan delegation huddled in their quarters, their bioluminescent bodies pulsing with fear patterns. Through the translator, their representative Lumina explained that the shadow hunter had already passed through their section once, apparently deciding they weren't worth immediate attention, but would likely return after eliminating easier targets. It's methodical, Lumina's translator conveyed. It's clearing the wing section by section. Jack quickly formulated a plan. I need to know everything about this creature. Weaknesses, sensory abilities, hunting patterns. Lumina's glow fluctuated as she accessed the Alpha Knowledge Repository. Xarians hunt primarily through bioelectric sensing and thermal detection. They avoid bright light and sonic disruptions. Perfect, Jack grinned. I'm going to need your help. While Jack constructed an improvised trap using the Alphan's environmental control systems and his limited tools, he explained the concept of humans as persistence hunters. Our ancestors didn't have claws or venom, he told the fascinated aliens as he worked. We hunted by following prey until they collapsed from exhaustion. Patience and endurance, very civilian traits, combined with predatory pattern recognition and problem solving. A crash from nearby indicated the shadow hunter was approaching. Jack positioned himself at the end of the corridor, bracing the metal pole like a spear. Now, he shouted. The Alphans simultaneously increased their bioluminescence to blinding levels while emitting their highest-pitched harmonic tones. The combination created a sensory overload that drove the shadow hunter, a writhing mass of obsidian tentacles and gleaming teeth, directly toward Jack's position. Jack held his ground until the last possible moment before diving aside, using the pole to trip the creature into the makeshift electrical trap he'd created from rewired environmental controls. The shadow hunter convulsed as non-lethal current surged through its system, incapacitating but not killing it. Quick, the containment field, Jack called. The Alphans activated a portable containment field they'd removed from their scientific equipment, enveloping the stunned predator in a shimmering energy bubble. When the predator response team finally arrived, they found a sweaty, disheveled human standing guard over a securely contained shadow hunter, surrounded by a group of Alphans who were composing what appeared to be an impromptu celebratory light symphony in Jack's honor. Impossible, muttered the head of the response team, a massive reptilian being with natural armor plating. No civilian could trap a shadow hunter. I'm not classified yet, remember? Jack grinned, wiping blood from a cut on his forehead. Besides, I didn't do it alone. The Alphans were crucial to the plan. News of the incident spread through the station faster than an antimatter cascade. Security recordings of Jack facing down the predator while protecting civilian species became the most watched content in Galactic Union history. Various predator species admired his hunting strategy, while civilian species praised his protective instincts. Jack in the medical bay, as a flustered alien medic attempted to treat Jack's wounds, complicated by the fact that human physiology wasn't in their database, Commander Zolrak appeared. The classification committee has been in emergency session for the past hour, he informed Jack. Your actions today have complicated matters further. Happy to help, Jack replied with a wince as the medic applied something that felt like liquid nitrogen to his cut. You utilized predator hunting tactics while displaying civilian protective behavior, Zolrak continued, his skin cycling through confused color patterns. You cooperated with a purely civilian species to defeat a pure predator species. The committee is distressed. Sounds like they need a drink, Jack suggested, or whatever the equivalent is for species without mouths. This isn't a joke, Ambassador Fletcher. The entire classification system that has maintained galactic peace for millennia is being questioned because of you. Jack sat up, suddenly serious. Good. Maybe it should be questioned. Any system that can't account for complexity and evolution needs revision. We humans have never fit neatly into boxes, and we never will. The Grand Assembly Hall was packed beyond capacity for the official classification announcement. Representatives from worlds throughout the galaxy had arrived specifically for this historic occasion. Jack stood once again on the central platform, this time wearing his dress uniform, newly repaired after the Shadow Hunter incident. High Administrator Vox's energy form pulsed with formal patterns as they addressed the assembly. After extensive deliberation, consultation with evolutionary experts from 17 worlds, and consideration of recent events, the classification committee has reached a determination regarding the species known as humans. A dramatic pause followed, during which Jack was certain he could hear Lieutenant Creeks nervously clicking her webbed fingers somewhere in the audience. Effective immediately. A new classification category is established. Adaptable Omnivore Paradox. This classification acknowledges a species' capacity to embody seemingly contradictory evolutionary traits simultaneously and to transition between behavioral modalities without physiological transformation. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Creating an entirely new classification was unprecedented in Galactic Union history. Furthermore, Vox continued, due to their unique status, humans will be granted special diplomatic considerations. Ambassador Fletcher will serve on both the Predator and Civilian Cooperation Councils, the first representative in galactic history to hold dual council positions. Jack tried to look appropriately honored while wondering how many more meetings this meant he'd have to attend. The Galactic Union hereby extends formal recognition to Earth as the homeworld of the first officially classified Adaptable Omnivore Paradox species, with all rights and responsibilities thereof. The Assembly's reaction was mixed. Some representatives applauded using whatever appendages they possessed, while others emitted warning pheromones or retreated into protective postures. At the reception afterward, Jack found himself the center of attention. Predator species wanted to discuss hunting techniques, civilian species sought insights on cooperative social structures, and everyone seemed fascinated by humanity's contradictory nature. So your offspring engage in simulated predation behavior called tag, yet moments later may cooperatively build sand structures on your beaches? Asked a bewildered silicon-based diplomat. Pretty much, Jack nodded. Kids contain even more multitudes than adults. They're figuring out how to be both competitive and cooperative. Commander Zolrak approached, his skin displaying formal acknowledgement patterns. The Galactic Security Council has been discussing potential human integration, he informed Jack. Your Predator response capabilities combined with civilian diplomatic sensitivity present. Interesting possibilities. Let me guess, Jack smirked. You want humans to serve as diplomats to Predator worlds and security forces for civilian ones? Essentially, yes, Zolrak admitted. Your unique classification makes you ideally suited for cross-category mediation. Well, we do have a long history of being both peacekeepers and warriors, Jack mused, though not always successfully at either. As the reception concluded, Jack prepared to board the vessel that would return him to Earth. Lieutenant Creeks escorted him to the departure bay. Our xenobiologists are still baffled by human physiology, she confessed. How did your species evolve such contradictory traits? Jack considered the question. Maybe because our planet itself is full of contradictions. Harsh and nurturing, abundant and scarce. We had to adapt to everything from frozen tundras to scorching deserts, feast and famine. Being specialist predators or specialist civilians would have limited us. And now that adaptability will take you to the stars, Creeks observed. For better or worse, Jack agreed. Back on Earth, Jack's report to the United Nations generated equal measures of excitement and concern. Humanity's unique classification opened tremendous opportunities for galactic integration, but also placed them in the precarious position of being neither fully trusted by civilian species nor fully respected by predator ones. In conclusion, Jack told the assembled world leaders, the galaxy doesn't quite know what to make of us. Predator species think we're not aggressive enough, civilian species think we're too unpredictable, but all of them are intensely curious about us. And what do you think our approach should be moving forward, Ambassador? Asked the Secretary General. Jack smiled. I think we should embrace our paradoxical nature. Throughout human history, our greatest achievements have come from balancing our competitive drive with our cooperative spirit. The galaxy needs that balance now more than ever. As humanity prepared for its new role in galactic society, xenolinguists noticed something interesting. Across a dozen alien languages, the term for human was being used as slang for something unpredictably helpful and frustratingly dangerous, diplomatically sensitive yet combat-ready, for confusingly contradictory yet admirably adaptable. Meanwhile, in the distant reaches of the galaxy, other species whispered about the strange beings from Earth with equal parts fascination and trepidation. They told stories about humans who could negotiate peace treaties in the morning and neutralize security threats in the afternoon. About a species that kept predators as pets yet wept at the beauty of art. And somewhere on a diplomatic vessel heading toward a troubled solar system, Jack Fletcher prepared for another day of being the galaxy's most paradoxical ambassador, and ready to extend either a handshake or a fist, depending entirely on what the situation required. In the official Galactic Encyclopedia, under the newly created classification Adaptable Omnivore Paradox, the entry for humans now read, "The only known species in the galaxy where an unarmed civilian and a deadly predator are the same classification." Approach with caution, respect, and a well-developed sense of humor.